Well, today we're here with Forrest Qualia.
Yes.
And Forrest is an actor. We're very, very, very excited to have you here today to tell us about your project that you just completed, and also to tell us a little bit for the people out there who might be interested in getting into acting, some of the experiences that you had.
Definitely.
And so starting off with that, I'm really curious what your defining moment was.
What do you mean defining moment?
That moment you knew that this was in your future, that this is something you had to do. What was that moment like?
So I'm going to break it down to two separate moments. So the first moment was just after a long run of dead-end jobs, and I just wasn't very happy with the path my career was going. That was the conventional 9-to-5 type lifestyle, and I wanted to do something more artistic, something that I could be passionate about. And I've always loved films growing up, so I had the idea to become an actor. And so I organized a little scene and just to practice, and we shot it. And that's when I knew that I liked it. And then the real defining moment for me was actually the first job I ever booked. At first, it was really just a hobby. I was having fun with my friends and just doing little scenes and reenactments. But I got really lucky with an audition, and I booked my first big job. And that was the defining moment. That film was called The Bootlegger. It's still currently in post-production. I'm still just starting out in the career. But that film was like a dream come true. It was a period film back in about this real-life character back in 1920. And so this guy was a bootlegger, and he was bootlegging to get through the Great Depression.
Okay.
And the whole thing was shot off the coast of Rhode Island. So we were on boats, and we were in like a high-speed boat chase one day and doing all kinds of like really incredible stuff. And I remember there was a day on set there, and I was just like, yeah, this is it. Like, this is what I need to do. So since then, I've been, pursuing it 100%. The only thing that I can actually vividly remember was I was working at a security job, and I was sitting in my vehicle. It was probably midnight. And I had been working this job for months, and I just was not happy. I was like, this job sucks. And so I was just bored, and I was looking on my phone, entertaining myself on YouTube, and I've always loved film. I've always been very passionate about movies and actors, even though I didn't know that I was going to, pursue that one day. And I was watching Heath Ledger's Joker. I was watching his scenes, and I don't know, it just kind of clicked. I was watching him do the acting, and I was watching it, and I was just like, wow, that's really cool. And it just, I don't know, it just kind of struck me like lightning. I was like, wow. And then that was actually the first scene I ever practiced was Heath Ledger, his Joker impression, which I'm not going to do for you guys because I don't want to make myself look silly. Heath Ledger was the king, so I'm not going to try to step on his work, but I had a blast doing it. And I was like, And then I got into The Departed, which I talked a little bit about earlier. And I would watch Leo do his thing, and I would watch like the facial expressions, and I would mimic as I watched the movies. My face would change. I would laugh with the characters. I would cry with the characters. I would literally just pretend to be in the movie. As a viewer, I would pretend to be the actor. And I was just like, wow, like I can do this.
Okay.
And then that's what really kicked it off. I started doing it. Yeah.
On your first film, what was that like when you heard that you actually landed the part? And what part did you play?
Right. So that's The Bootlegger. That's the film I had touched upon earlier a little bit. Yeah. So I was originally cast it was like 48 hours before the first day of filming. I went out to Rhode Island. I auditioned for the role of Captain Charlie Travers. So that was the lead for the film. And weeks had gone by, maybe even like a month or so. And I was in Cape Cod, and I got a phone call at about 5 p.m. And he was like, it was the director. And he's like, hey, we booked you, and we actually want to start filming like immediately. What are you doing in like a day or two? And I was like, well, I'll be there. So I just showed up, and we did some pre-production, went through all the paperwork, and just did a couple promotional things. And that was the start of it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that was actually your first.
That was my
gig.
first real job. Yeah, I had done like some short films and some student films, and like some small stuff, commercial and modeling. But that was my first like big job, my first like really meaningful job.
Okay. And from the moment or the approximate time that you decided, this is really for me, or you're even going to go into that direction, how much time do you think had spanned in between you getting that? Like, what was that in between time like for you?
Okay, so from when I started to when I booked my first big role?
Yeah.
Probably like 2 years.
Okay.
I didn't really book anything real for about 2 years. I was messing around with friends. I was reading online, just practicing in my house, just kind of like learning the basics of how everything works and how to do the job. I did a ton of auditions, and it's just a numbers game. You you audition for like hundreds of jobs and you book 2 or 3 of them. It's just the way the industry works. So I had been practicing and auditioning, and I finally was the right fit for the right character at the right time, and so yeah, it took about 2 years. And since then I've been progressively shortening the gap between gigs. Right now I've been working a lot lately, so
That's awesome.
yeah,
Congratulations.
finally got some momentum, and it's feeling good. So
It seems like it's really falling together for you.
it's starting to, yeah.
That's excellent. So I was wondering, before I'd mentioned about your personality, it would seem to me what kept you going, what kept your morale high and focused, because it sounds like you were really focused in that time when you made that decision and you were going for it. Is there any advice, or what's the best advice you got for someone, whether it's read or someone
Yeah.
told you?
So, like, what kept me going is honestly passion for the craft. I mentioned before, I've read a ton of success stories from other actors or watched videos of them. And common advice in the industry is, if you could see yourself doing anything else, like, do that instead, because it's a very challenging. He's laughing. It's a very, very difficult career. So that's kind of the same advice I give. Do it as a hobby. Do it if you love it, and if it works out, awesome. And if not, you're just still doing it for fun and for passion. And if you can turn that into income, then that's just a bonus. And that's the whole perspective I've had on it. I just do it because I love it. And I've had entrepreneurial side hustles the entire time to pay my bills, and it seems like it's starting to work out for me. But it's still just a passion. So if it works out, awesome. If not, I'm still having a blast.
Right.
And that's my advice.
That's awesome. That's
do
good.
it if you love it.
Oh,
if not, pick something else.
Right. Great attitude.
Yeah.
If there's any role that you would ever really want to play at this time in your life, this period, do you
I love the idea of being like an action star. I've been, for the last few years, I've been developing personal skills that will translate in film. Things like martial arts, boxing, firearm training, all kinds of things that you could use in an action film. I've been practicing, so I would love to get a film where I get to actually exercise some of those skills I have been practicing. So yeah, like a Mission Impossible franchise, like I would love, like, a lot of adventure, lots of action, a little bit of comedy here and there. I feel like that would be, I would love that, yeah.
That actually sounds really amazing.
Yeah.
I personally never thought of translating, something where you want to go to being prepared for it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I think about it in other ways, but that is fabulous. Great.
Yeah, that's my approach with everything, like, when it comes to film. Like, if I know I want to book a certain type of job, I'll dive in personally into whatever world that is. I guess you could call it method acting in a sense. Because I'm getting real life experience that I know will translate on a film set, and so that's something I'm always doing.
Okay, cool. What about a role that might really stretch you or your abilities? I'm sure every role can be that way, but something a challenge you would like to take on someday.
Right. So I feel like every job does come with its unique challenges. That's definitely something that I look for in a project, is something that I know that will challenge me to be a better actor. So just like very emotionally demanding films would be probably the most challenging. Either that or biopics about people who really lived, because now there's a standard that you have to actually meet, where everything else in film is complete creativity. But if you're doing a biopic about someone's life, now you have to actually be accurate. You have to be exactly what they were. assuming the depiction of the film is supposed to be an accurate representation. But I feel like a biopic or something that's just very emotionally demanding would probably be the most challenging. And those are also my favorite kind of roles. So that's what I look for.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's great.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me about this story, The Investigator?
Yes, I would love to.
I'm really excited about it. I want to know, what was the inception? How'd this come about?
Right. So the first idea that came way back when I first had the idea of acting, so a couple years ago, I just had the idea conceptually, it would be fun to make a movie about a couple of idiot detectives who fumble around and solve, all these crimes. And that idea never went anywhere. And then during 2020, during the shutdown, I had a lot of free time on my hands, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to write it. So I sat down, I wrote a script for it. I reached out to some of my, colleagues in the industry and was like, hey, let's make a funny little film. And everybody was really excited about it. I sent my script to a bunch of people. Everybody responded really well to it. And as soon as the economy opened and people were allowed to get out there a little bit, we just dove right into it and we started filming. And yeah.
That's awesome. What was that like writing it?
Slow. It took a long time.
What do you consider a long time? Things seem to be moving pretty rapidly for you.
Took me like 2 months to write it, and I did get some help. My father's a screenplay writer. He's very experienced. So I wrote it, and then I sent it to him to fix my grammar and just tweak some little things, and so he added a lot of value. And then we just started production as soon as we could.
That's great. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Were there any unexpected hurdles that happened?
Definitely. So this was very shortly after the reopening of the state. So COVID was still very troublesome to work around to make sure that everything was safe. And just logistically, we had one of our actors was living out of state. So traveling in and out of state was challenging. Once everybody started working again, they were working on films or their day job. So scheduling was a hurdle. So we started filming in Rhode Island. We were planning on shooting the entire film in Rhode Island. But then when the restrictions started coming in, it was making it very difficult. Most of our team is from Boston. So we ended up switching, and all the interior scenes we actually shot in Massachusetts. The exterior scenes we had already shot in Rhode Island. So all the outdoor scenes are actually Rhode Island, and then all the interior scenes for the film are shot in Mass. So that wasn't planned that way. It's just how we had to adapt because we only had one Rhode Island guy. So it was easier to get him, tested and safely come over to Massachusetts. And so that was definitely the biggest hurdle, is just scheduling and transportation.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
What were now this is the first film that you did yourself.
Yes.
What were some of the challenges just technically of like shooting outside, or things that you had to encounter? Or were you lucky enough to have people on board who had handled some of those things? Or
yeah, I got a ton of help. I couldn't have done it without my crew. Everybody that collaborated with me on this project, they're all film professionals. They're all the rising stars of the industry. Everybody that I've worked with on this project has a very bright future in the industry. So I got incredibly lucky being able to work with them. So we all took on a little extra responsibility. So yeah, I really relied on my director a lot, and my film crew, my co-stars. Everybody kind of carried some weight.
That's excellent.
But a lot of learning just as we went.
That's great. And how are we going to be able to see this film?
So it's going to go through, right now we're in post-production. I'm hoping to be done with all the post-production stuff by fall. We're sooner than that, but then we're going to do a film festival circuit. Once the film festivals are done, it'll be on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
That's the goal, so.
That's really good.
Yes.
What's up for you next? Is there something already in the works that you can talk about?
So something I just finished, a film called Jungle Room 2. That was produced by Verdi Productions, associated with Shadow Veil Productions. That's the team that actually did the Irishman film with Robert De Niro on Netflix. So working with that team was like an incredible opportunity to meet everybody and just work with such a talented group of filmmakers. So we just filmed that, and that wrapped a few weeks ago. Since then, I have 2 projects that are lined up. One's in pre-production, and then one's pending pre-production on the other project. So okay. I have 2 projects that are lined up for the near future. I can't talk about any of the specifics on those yet.
That's okay.
But I'll be starting to physically work on the first project at the very end of May, I believe.
Okay.
And then just on to the next. Hopefully keep the momentum going.
I guess it's a great one.
Yeah.
That's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So with, are you thinking of doing more writing? I know you're talking about the investigators and franchise, and that sounds like a really great idea.
Yeah.
Is it still acting the number one, or do you think you're going to be able to manage both?
I would love to do like a 50-50 kind of thing. I think from like as far as emotional, rewarding type motivation acting, I get more pleasure out of. But like producing has so many benefits too. Like I just love film. I love filmmaking, learning everything and creating from the back end standpoint is also really cool. So yeah, I really see myself doing both. And another thing about producing, you can make whatever movie you want. So that's what inspired me to get into producing, because I was thinking to myself how hard it was to book jobs, especially starting out as an actor. You know, nobody knows my name yet. I'm just starting to break the surface on that. So I was thinking, well, I'll just start making my own movies, and whatever movie I feel like doing, I'll just make it.
I was wondering, for the people in the audience who are listening and they don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if someone came up to you and be like, I want to be doing what you're doing. First of all, you have an immense amount of drive. And you just go for it. You can really tell that that's really awesome. Mm-hmm. But if someone where would you direct someone? Where to even start?
So I would say to someone who's completely new and just likes the idea of it, I would say go take some classes. And I don't mean to go to an acting conservatory or some expensive university. I'm just go to a local casting agency or film school. Like just right here in Boston, even there's multiple places that you can go and get really great classes taught by professionals that work in the industry. A few $100 and you can get a handful of classes, and that's a really good way to start out. You can learn the basics about the industry, the basics about the craft you chose to find your place in the industry. So that's definitely the first step. Is take a class and get an idea of what the basics are. And then find your place in there and then go from there. Mm-hmm. But it really comes down to, it's such a unique business. Everybody's path to success is going to be very, very different. I did not take a conventional path. But yeah, that's probably the best advice I could give is just go take some classes. Yeah.
Okay. I actually did have a question I'd written down. Mm-hmm. And it has to do with chemistry on a set. And I don't mean romantic.
No, I know. Yeah.
I just mean being an actor as an outsider, doesn't act, and I don't have an interest in acting, but I'm interested in the field and film. Mm-hmm. What has that experience been like for you, and what do you do if it's not there?
So yes, chemistry is really, really important. If you don't get along with someone, I mean, you can fake it, but the more authentic you can be, and the more grounded you can be in a situation with another actor, the better the performance is going to be. You can always fake it, but if you can have a genuine friendship or relationship with somebody, and respect them, and that's going to definitely make you more comfortable. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to get a better performance.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. But then could it work in the opposite? So if it's an antagonistic relationship with the characters on screen, then that could really help. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, if you are really grumpy with somebody, you're going to be stressed out. You're going to be overthinking, and it's definitely going to be a big distraction from what you're there to do.
Or you could ask if
No, go ahead.
In terms of location where you are in Massachusetts, obviously it's you hear the stereotypical thing would be to be in LA, right? So
Right.
how does that work for you in terms of where you are, where you're living? Is the dream of moving out to LA, you don't have to do that, or?
I feel like you don't have to do it
Or
anymore.
New York.
So to answer that question, yes, I would love to move to New York or LA at some point. But also, so much stuff is done online now. So much is virtual, especially now with COVID. Since COVID happened, all my auditions are actually virtual. Zoom auditions and self-tape auditions. So I think in the near future, it might be a thing of the past to actually need to be based in a city to audition there. But also what I find is starting out, going to those bigger cities, you're going to be competing with, veteran actors who are all name talent. Out in Boston, I'm competing with a lot of people who are green. So I feel the competition, and this is just speculation. I don't know if it's true or not. This is just my feelings. But I feel like competing with people who are still starting out is going to increase my chances of booking. Whereas if I go to LA, I'm going to be competing with name talent. And, they're going to say, he was great, but who is he? And then Tom Holland walks in and auditions and, he's going to get the part. So,
yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot more film happening here in Massachusetts, and the tax incentives are really driving business. And I'm hoping that continues. But
definitely.
I do.
It's also about community. I've built a strong community here in Boston. I've started to network and I've met filmmakers here. And that's actually a really, really important part of it too. I know people here in New England that, we'll be working together on a lot of films in the future. If I were to move to LA, I'd have to build a whole new network, a whole new community of directors, producers, filmmakers. And I have that here. So one day I'll make the jump, but probably not until people know my name.
How about recent movies that you really like a lot?
Recent movies. From what?
And why? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the movie that I just made looked really cool being there, seeing it, and I can't wait for it. Yeah. So
That
Jungle
works.
Room 2, yeah.
That
Make sure you
works.
check it out when it's out. Yeah. That and The Investigators.
Absolutely.
Those are my favorite movies right now, yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh,
So
you're gonna
it should
have
be
to-
out this fall. So that's
great.
the plan is for this fall. It should be out.
Sounds wonderful. I can't
Definitely.
wait, and I hope you come back and visit us again with future
Definitely. I would
future
love
films, and just to let us know how it's going. It's
I'd
it's
love
actually
to.
been really awesome, just kind of hearing about you the first time,
Mm.
and then hearing these and seeing your progress updates online.
Well, thank
So
you.
I'm
I
sure
appreciate it.
there's be a lot more coming.
Yeah, we'll be posting updates. Now that we're starting to get to the back end side of the post production, the editing process will be done pretty soon. Once that part of the process is done, I'll have a lot more content to share, to post, trailers, teasers. So we'll be posting on our YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook. We'll be a whole bunch of teasers.
Are you part of the editing process?
Yeah. I'm producing the film, so I'm a part of all of it.
Okay.
I sit down with the director and we take a look at the rough cut. We spend hours talking about every single scene, what could be better, what could be changed, what we like. Then we fill a notebook with notes. We send the notes to the editor. They refine it. And it's just a process of going back and forth until you finally have a diamond, because it starts out like a lump of coal and you just keep chiseling away until you got a really great product. And once it's done, you show it to the world.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's it's a long process.
Yeah.
Very in-depth.
Were you ever intimidated by putting out your thoughts or putting yourself out there, or was this always easy for you?
Oh, no, it's very intimidating, to the fear of judgment, fear of failure, what if I suck, So yeah, it's still to this day. I mean, all the work I do, in the back of my mind, it's like, am I good enough? Am I going to do a good job? And if you mess up, the whole world sees it. So I think that's just a part of the job. You need to accept it and just push forward. But yeah, it's definitely just a part of my process. It's just to acknowledge it and just push through it.
Okay, that's good. But has it lessened?
Yeah, I'm more comfortable with it. I'm at the point now where I understand the job, the career, the craft, and it requires you to be silly and weird and wild. And you just have to accept that and accept that the characters aren't you. That's a big part of it too. Understanding like, I'm not him. So if he does something weird, I'm not accountable for it. Blame him. Okay. I had nothing to do with it. So that thought process,
I love that,
is what really empowered me to just go crazy. Let my characters be weird. I'll be over here doing my own thing. Two different people.
That's really pretty cool.
Yeah. All I would say is to the viewers, check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Show us some love. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll have links attached as well.
And it should be out this fall, 2021. So look for it.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, Forrest. I really appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you.